Hello there, YouTube. This is a very special episode of Thoughts of No One in Particular, in which I address an issue very close to my heart, and that is autism. Being on the autistic spectrum myself, I wouldn't call myself an expert, but quite a bit of knowledge of it. I also have quite a bit of knowledge of the ridiculous myths that have been perpetuated by an almost cultic mentality in the anti-vaccine group. So I'm going to present to you the myths and the facts when it comes to autism. Ah, God bless the internet, you know what a scam is when you see it. Unfortunately, not everybody does. The anti-vax movement is mainly an American movement, though it is spreading, a bit like wingnut Christianity, like that. It's based on a guy who didn't even know what he was doing when he set this in motion. Poor old Andrew Wakefield. Andrew Wakefield took massive shortcuts and made some fraudulent claims about a link between a particular vaccine, MMR, and autism. He never claimed that it was the sole cause of autism, though people constantly say he did, and he will correct you on that. He also never claimed that all vaccines are evil. Again, he'll probably correct. He'll probably say that as much to the anti-vaccine people. But he was basically committing fraud. He was trying to get some kind of deal out of big pharma or something. It was a complete mess, and the link to where he was struck off is below. He is struck off from the British Medical Register, which means he cannot practice medicine in the civilized world. Of course, it seems due to your lack of regulation in the US, civilized world doesn't seem to apply because he is practicing medicine over there, and that is a scandal in itself. Anyhow, this movement he's unwittingly birthed is a group who are basically going against all vaccinations whatsoever. And they've also been distorting the truth about autism, about causes, about a cure, which you cannot have because a cure would imply that there is an actual disease, not a genetic difference. That really irritates me. I mean, I don't want to be cured. I know that there are people who probably would want a cure. It's just like, as I constantly use the analogy between autistic people and the X-Men. There are those of us who are proud to be what we are. There are those of us who'd rather not. And I'm definitely, to quote another chap on the Asperger support group, I'll be magnetoing the NT's arses. And NT is neurotypical, as in normal people, as soon as I bloody well can. Yes, but bad analogies aside, we have this problem whereby these people are perpetuating pseudoscience, and because of the lack of regulation over there, nobody's stopping. Over here, they'd be pretty much screwed because our regulation is so tight that this kind of shit does not get tolerated. I mean, even people like Christian Scientists who also don't believe, who have never believed in vaccinations for some strange reason, they are heavily monitored and regulated. Generally, rightly so, monitored by the state because they are a threat. If you drop below a certain percentage of vaccinated people, I think it's around 86, you have potential to be incubating some very nasty diseases, variations on old diseases we wiped out centuries ago. And that is terrifying. And rightly so, there's a lot of antipathy towards anti-vaxxers in the US, or at least from the very, very tiny rational community. Sorry, Thunderfoot, but I don't buy your 30% statistic. The stuff that I get coming out of the United States, even from not just from, I'm not talking about the God issue. And as I said, the God issue is pretty irrelevant because you can have a relatively well-adjusted person like me still believe in God. But when we're talking about cultic beliefs, I'd say it's a breeding ground for them over there, and with the lack of regulation, this just shows how insane it is over there. They've got a cult going, the so-called libertarians, or right-wing reactionaries, as Frank Wright called them, who are complaining about over-regulation in one of the least regulated countries in the world. I believe, I speak for Weed and Freak and Franks, but pretty much the only place you can go where it's less regulated is Somalia, where they don't really have a government. But yeah, this cultic belief, it's sad to say this, but I'm involved in a campaign at the moment for justice for an autistic kid who was murdered by his local police department. And they're thinking of bringing these anti-vax clowns into the campaign, and I can only see this going terribly badly. These are known frauds, known charlatans, known people who deny basic science, and they will ruin all credibility for the campaign. They will get people, they will divide people, they will destroy all the good work that they've done. So please, please, keep them the hell away from pretty much any autism campaign, because they're not scientific. What we need, rather than focusing on these massively debunked myths, and these myths that have come out of, I mean, they've gone well beyond what Wakefield wanted. Poor old Wakefield. He was just trying to get rid of one particular vaccine, and now he's started a worldwide movement to destroy the best advance in medical technology that we've ever had in favour of quackery. And to just sit in those shoes for just a minute, the pain the poor guy must be suffering, it's horrible. I mean, what he did was unforgivable, but it's just horrible. Autism is a work in progress as far as medical science is concerned, which is something that anti-vaxxers and other cultic beliefs have picked up on and exploited. But enough about them, please. I'm not going to mention them again. We have a set of symptoms, obviously. We have a strong suspicion it is a genetic thing, although I don't believe we've isolated the gene completely yet. We're working on it. As to why this would exist as a gene, I am fortunate in my GP is something of a world expert, Dr. Frances Nolan. She has a theory by which a lot of what we now call learning disabilities, like dyspraxia, dyslexia, autism, all these others, are adaptations to specific roles in tribal society. So the brain's operating system is we're all running on caveman brains, which is quite scary in itself, because our brains really haven't caught up to the sort of level of technology we are currently at, which isn't which is a scary thought. But so we're still hardwired into specific roles, and the great thing about humanity is it specialises. And amongst specialisation with high-functioning autistic people, we are the greatest specialisers of the specialisers. When we find a field, when we find an interest, an obsession, we will excel at it, or we will do our damnedest to excel at it. And because of this, in the past, several people with who we've later diagnosed as on the spectrum, Albert Einstein, Winston Churchill, to name Nikola Tesla, Alan Turing, without whom we wouldn't be having this conversation because he invented digital computing. But I've done another video about Alan Turing, which I will be sure to link below. Anyway, the basis of one of the greatest reasons that Homo sapiens sapiens, as opposed to say Neanderthals or any of the other sort of Homo offshoots, succeeded, is because we specialise. Well, we reproduce quickly and we specialise, and that is the greatest asset of humanity, and it is heavily embodied in autistic people. And I believe a campaign for autism awareness should have that as its central focus. That we're not quite go as far as some people and say we are the next step in human evolution, but say that the way that we've been built, it seems to sort of gel very well with the technological age. Anonymous, I obviously we don't know who the hell these people are, but I bet you most of them, or certainly most of them sort of chaff we've caught, are autistic. We have other groups all around the world, which are led by particularly sort of figures who would probably be diagnosed as either Asperger's or autism, autistic, or high-functioning autistic, in positions of power. And sooner or later, I think we may be looking at a kind of a sort of an autistic nationalist movement. I am actually thinking of writing a novel based on that idea. And the great thing about that is the moment you start calling things like racism on it, of course, the fact is autism crosses all boundaries of race, religion, creed, and things. It's there in every kind of human society. As I said, I believe one of the I'm sorry to bring them up again, but one of the anti-vaxxers go in, the Amish don't have autistic people. It must be because they don't vaccinate. Well, I bet you the Amish do, and to be fair, we haven't had that much contact with them because they're very insular. But I'm pretty sure they've got a phrase for kids who are particularly focused on one particular thing, or seem to have a kind of a knack for specialising in a particular area. They've probably got a name for it, and again, because they are a sort of backward society, I bet you some of them will probably consider autism some kind of demonic possession, so we have that as a flip side too. But yes, as I see it, if you're going to make campaigns to raise awareness, science, facts, first and foremost. Your science, your facts, also the positives. Because we always hear about, negative this, drain on the parent, blah, blah, blah. Bugger off. This is a blessing as much as it's a curse. I wouldn't want a cure. If there was a cure, I'd tell you to stick it up your ass. Because this is me. This is who I am. I am an obsessive person. I am a dedicated person. And if you don't like that, piss off.